Now let's talk about the International Space Station. It is aging, and this has invited an array of problems, about 50 of them. Problems, including the fact that the space station is leaking air.
When was the last time the International Space Station, or ISS, achieved something monumental for humanity after the feat of humans walking on the moon in the 60s? The service has been there for several decades now, that it's either too old or just really outdated that it needs to be let go. It's finally time to bid farewell to the legendary station. The end of an era. Since the iconic achievement of humans walking on the moon in the 60s, the ISS has served as a symbol of human ambition in space exploration. Over the decades, it has fostered groundbreaking scientific research, propelled international collaboration, and advanced our understanding of life beyond Earth. However, after more than 2 decades of service, the ISS now faces growing concerns about its age and relevance. The International Space Station was originally intended to be a 15-year mission. However, its success and continued support led to several extensions, and as a result, some of the oldest ISS modules have been in orbit for over 20 years, with their reliability diminishing. There have been discussions about reallocating funding to other space initiatives, such as returning to the moon. According to the Outer Space Treaty, the parties responsible for launching spacecraft or modules are legally obligated to ensure their safe operation. Therefore, an unmaintained ISS could pose risks both in terms of orbital safety and potential re-entry hazards. Russia has announced plans to withdraw from the ISS program after 2025, though Russian modules will continue to help maintain the station's orbit until 2028. The United States had initially planned to deorbit the ISS by 2016, but in 2015, Boeing's contract with NASA was extended until 2020 to continue supporting the station. This included efforts to extend the ISS's structural lifespan until at least 2028. In 2018, the Space Frontier Act was introduced, which sought to extend the ISS's operation until 2030. Although it was unanimously approved by the Senate, it did not pass in the House. However, a similar initiative, the Leading Human Spaceflight Act, passed in December 2018, and Congress later included provisions in the CHIPS and Science Act, signed by President Biden in August 2022, to extend the ISS's operation. If commercial low Earth orbit destinations are not fully developed to support NASA's projects by 2031, NASA has suggested the possibility of extending the ISS's operations beyond that year. Plan of disposal. NASA originally considered several options for disposing of the ISS: natural orbital decay with random re-entry, similar to Skylab, boosting the station to a higher altitude to delay re-entry, or executing a controlled deorbit targeting a remote ocean area. However, NASA rejected the random re-entry option due to the unacceptable risk of hazardous space debris potentially impacting people or property. Additionally, reboosting the station would be expensive and could introduce other safety concerns. Before 2010, NASA had planned to use a modified Progress spacecraft to deorbit the ISS, but later determined that it wouldn't be sufficient for the task. Instead, NASA decided to develop a spacecraft specifically designed for the deorbit mission. In January 2022, NASA announced plans to deorbit the ISS by January 2031, using a US deorbit vehicle to guide the station's remnants into a remote area of the South Pacific Ocean, known as the Spacecraft Cemetery, near Point Nemo. The deorbit vehicle will be launched in 2030, docking at the Harmony Forward Port. After a year of the station's orbit naturally decaying to 220 kilometers, 140 miles, the spacecraft will conduct several burns to lower the perigee to 150 kilometers, 93 miles, before executing the final deorbiting burn. NASA began preparing for the deorbit vehicle after concerns arose about Russia potentially withdrawing from the ISS, which could leave the remaining partners with limited options for a controlled re-entry. In June 2024, NASA selected SpaceX to develop the US deorbit vehicle in a contract worth up to $843 million. The vehicle will be based on a modified Cargo Dragon spacecraft, extended with a trunk module containing 46 Draco thrusters and 30,000 kilograms, 66,000 pounds, of propellant, nearly 6 times the usual capacity. NASA is still working to secure the necessary funding to build, launch, and operate the deorbit vehicle. In February 2025, Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, suggested in a tweet that the ISS should be deorbited 2 years from now, arguing that the station has served its purpose and offers very little incremental utility. However, no official decisions to advance the deorbiting date have been made. How much do you know about the ISS and its legacy? The beginning of space exploration. The International Space Station has been a symbol of human ingenuity, international collaboration, and scientific exploration for over 2 decades. Launched in 1998, the ISS has been a living laboratory orbiting Earth, where scientists, astronauts, and engineers have conducted thousands of experiments that have deepened our understanding of space, human biology, and technology. But after more than 20 years in orbit, the ISS is slowly approaching the end of its operational life, sparking discussions about its future and what comes next for humanity's presence in space. When the ISS was first conceived, it represented a monumental leap forward, not just in space exploration, but in global cooperation. Before the ISS, space exploration was often viewed through the lens of national competition, with the United States and the Soviet Union being the main players in the space race during the Cold War. The ISS flipped this narrative by bringing together 15 nations from around the world to collaborate on a common goal: to build and operate a space station. This was groundbreaking in its own right, an unprecedented example of international unity and shared scientific endeavor. The construction of the ISS was a massive multi-year project that required a high level of coordination. Each participating country contributed different components, from the massive solar arrays that provide power to the station to the state-of-the-art laboratories and living quarters. The Russian Space Agency, for example, provided key modules, such as the Zarya and Zvezda modules, which served as the backbone of the station. Meanwhile, NASA contributed the US Destiny Laboratory, European Space Agency modules, and Canada supplied the robotic arm known as Canadarm2, which has been instrumental in conducting repairs and maneuvering cargo. Over the years, this international partnership has created a rare and vital space for peaceful collaboration. Astronauts and cosmonauts from all over the world have lived and worked side by side, forging bonds and mutual understanding. This collaboration has helped bridge divides in political ideologies and cultures, turning the ISS into a symbol of how shared human goals can transcend geopolitical boundaries. It's a testament to the fact that when nations come together for the sake of knowledge and discovery, they can achieve something far greater than they could individually. And so it brought so much to humankind with its contributions. While the ISS may not have the instant fame or glamour of the moon landing in the 60s, its contributions to space exploration are immeasurable. One of the most significant achievements of the ISS has been its role as a testing ground for long-duration space travel. Scientists have used the station to study the effects of extended exposure to microgravity on the human body. These studies have revealed the challenges astronauts face when living in space for long periods, including muscle atrophy, bone density loss, and alterations in eyesight. This research is critical for preparing humans for future deep space missions, particularly those targeting Mars, where astronauts will need to live in space for months or even years. The ISS has also allowed scientists to conduct experiments that are impossible to do on Earth. In microgravity, substances behave differently, and materials can be manipulated in ways that would be impossible under the influence of gravity. This unique environment has allowed researchers to make breakthroughs in fields like physics, chemistry, and material science. For example, studies on the growth of crystals in space have led to better manufacturing techniques for pharmaceuticals, while research on how fluids behave in microgravity has improved fuel management systems for spacecraft. In addition to these scientific breakthroughs, the ISS has also paved the way for more ambitious projects, such as the exploration of the Moon and Mars. The ISS serves as the closest approximation to a long-term space habitat, allowing scientists to learn how to support human life in space for extended periods. From managing resources like water and oxygen to developing sustainable food production systems, the lessons learned aboard the ISS will be essential for future missions beyond Earth's orbit. Despite its successes, the ISS is not without its challenges. Did you know how much it costs to maintain the whole system? Keep watching. The growing costs of the station. As the space station ages, its systems and infrastructure are starting to show signs of wear. The station's modules, solar arrays, and life support systems were all designed with a finite lifespan in mind, and many of these systems are now approaching or have surpassed their expected operational lifetimes. Although NASA and its international partners have made significant efforts to extend the life of the ISS through repairs and upgrades, the reality is that keeping the station operational is becoming increasingly expensive and complex. In recent years, the cost of maintaining the ISS has risen substantially. The aging infrastructure requires more frequent maintenance, and some of the station's original components are no longer efficient or functional. For example, the station's solar arrays, which provide its power, are aging and need to be replaced. This constant maintenance work, while essential, is costly and diverts resources away from new and emerging space missions. At the same time, the scientific return on the ISS is diminishing as more advanced technologies and research stations become available, both in space and on Earth. Furthermore, the geopolitical landscape has changed. The space race is no longer about competing superpowers. It's about collaboration, but also about commercialization. Private companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Boeing have revolutionized space technology, and their innovations in spacecraft and space stations are starting to take the spotlight. As private industry takes a more active role in space exploration, the reliance on the ISS is being re-evaluated. While the station still provides valuable research opportunities, there is an increasing sense that its time is limited, and that newer, more cost-efficient solutions will soon take its place. In this context, discussions about the ISS's future have become more urgent. NASA has signaled that it intends to keep the station in operation at least until 2030, but there are growing calls to start transitioning to the next phase of human space exploration. As we approach this turning point, it's clear that while the ISS has been invaluable, it may soon no longer be the best option for supporting future missions in space. The next generation of space stations and technologies is already in development, signaling the gradual yet inevitable phase-out of the ISS. The first one is a Chinese development. China's Tiangong in low Earth orbit. In recent years, China has emerged as a significant player in the realm of space exploration, and a key piece of their expanding ambitions is the Tiangong space station. Operating in low Earth orbit, or LEO, Tiangong marks China's first major foray into sustained human space presence, and it has the potential to reshape how we think about space exploration, both in terms of international competition and collaboration. Tiangong, which translates to Heavenly Palace in Chinese, is China's answer to the likes of NASA's International Space Station. While the ISS has served as a scientific laboratory and hub for international cooperation for over 2 decades, Tiangong is a more recent addition to the growing space infrastructure, having begun its construction in 2021. Unlike the ISS, which was a joint project between the US, Russia, and various other nations, Tiangong is solely operated and managed by China. However, this does not mean that it operates in isolation. China has expressed interest in future international partnerships, and Tiangong could open new doors for scientific collaboration, even beyond China's borders. The Tiangong space station is made up of a central module called Tianhe, which serves as the core living and working area, along with two laboratory modules, Wentian and Mengtian. These modules are designed to support a long-term human presence in space, allowing for extensive scientific research, technology testing, and even international partnerships in the future. Tianhe, launched in April 2021, is the heart of the station, providing essential functions like life support and propulsion, as well as serving as a docking port for visiting spacecraft. China has been steadily building its space infrastructure over the past few decades, starting with unmanned missions and gradually progressing to more ambitious projects. The Tiangong space station is the culmination of this effort, and it has been designed to operate independently for extended periods. The station is expected to host a crew of 3 astronauts for missions lasting up to 20 days at a time, with future missions potentially extending to 30 days or more as the station continues to grow. Tiangong's development also signals China's growing self-sufficiency in space. While the country has cooperated with other nations on certain projects, such as with the European Space Agency, ESA, on lunar missions, Tiangong is primarily a national effort. This independence in space exploration allows China to chart its own path, unencumbered by the political dynamics that sometimes affect international collaborations like those seen on the ISS. Much like the ISS, one of the key roles of Tiangong is to conduct scientific research in the unique environment of space. Living and working in microgravity offers unparalleled opportunities for studying materials, biology, and physics in ways that are simply impossible on Earth. This research can lead to advancements in technology, medicine, and industrial processes. For instance, one area of research aboard Tiangong focuses on the health and well-being of astronauts. Long-term space travel, particularly on missions to the Moon or Mars, presents challenges such as muscle atrophy, bone density loss, and the psychological effects of isolation. Tiangong's crew will continue to study these issues to help prepare for more extended deep space missions. The station also serves as a test bed for technologies that could be used on future missions, such as water recycling, food production, and radiation protection. Tiangong is also a platform for technological experiments in space. China has launched a variety of unmanned spacecraft to dock with the station, conducting experiments and expanding the station's capabilities. One notable example is the launch of the Tianzhou cargo spacecraft, which brings supplies and experiments to the station. These cargo spacecraft are essential for maintaining a sustainable presence in space, as they provide everything from food to fuel to scientific equipment. Furthermore, China has expressed interest in developing space-based manufacturing capabilities, and Tiangong could play a significant role in this effort. The microgravity environment could allow for the production of materials with unique properties, such as alloys that are difficult or impossible to create on Earth. This could have applications in various industries, from electronics to pharmaceuticals to advanced materials. Role in space ambitions. The launch and operation of Tiangong represent just one part of China's larger space ambitions. In addition to Tiangong, China has long-term plans to develop a presence on the Moon and Mars. The country's successful landing of a rover on Mars, Zhurong, in 2021 demonstrated China's growing capability to conduct interplanetary missions. In the near future, China is planning to send astronauts to the Moon as part of its Chang'e lunar program, which could eventually pave the way for lunar bases and deep space exploration. Tiangong also serves as a stepping stone for even more ambitious projects. With the experience gained from building and operating Tiangong, China is preparing to develop its own crewed lunar base and possibly contribute to future international space missions. There's also talk about potential collaborations with Russia and even private companies to build new space stations or lunar habitats. Looking ahead, Tiangong's future is closely tied to China's broader space strategy. While the station is still in its early years of operation, it is expected to continue evolving with new modules, systems, and scientific experiments. As space becomes increasingly commercialized, China is likely to open the door for international partnerships, potentially inviting other nations to collaborate on research, technology development, or even space tourism. In a broader context, Tiangong represents China's determination to become a leader in space exploration, alongside nations like the US and Russia. Its growing influence in LEO could eventually reshape the global space landscape, especially as private companies and other nations look for new platforms for space research and commercial ventures. In the years to come, Tiangong could become an essential part of the international space community, offering new opportunities for science, technology, and collaboration. As China continues to expand its reach in space, Tiangong will remain a focal point for scientific discovery, technological advancement, and the ongoing push to make space more accessible to humanity. Whether it's through its own independent efforts or through future partnerships, the Tiangong space station represents a new era in China's space exploration journey, and possibly the start of a new chapter for human activity in low Earth orbit. Did it end there? No. NASA continues to contribute to space discoveries. Gateway: New Times of Lunar Exploration. NASA's Gateway is set to be a key component of humanity's return to the Moon, playing a pivotal role in the next phase of space exploration. As part of the Artemis program, Gateway will be an intermodal station that orbits the Moon, providing critical infrastructure for astronauts as they venture further into deep space. It's not just another space station. It's a stepping stone for missions that will eventually take humans to Mars and beyond. Gateway is unique in its design and function. Unlike the International Space Station, which orbits Earth, Gateway will orbit the Moon, providing a platform for astronauts to travel back and forth between the lunar surface and space. This orbiting station will serve as a staging point for lunar landings, offering a base for exploration on the Moon and allowing NASA to test new technologies and strategies for long-term space habitation. The heart of Gateway is its central core, which is currently under development. This module will provide essential life support systems, propulsion, and power for the entire station. Once completed, it will serve as the station's main hub, where astronauts can live and work during their missions to the Moon. The core will be built using a mix of international collaboration, with various countries contributing modules and technology to the overall mission. Gateway's central core will be launched into orbit using NASA's powerful Space Launch System, SLS rocket, which is also being developed as part of the Artemis program. The core module will be equipped with everything astronauts need for extended stays in space, from environmental control systems to docking ports for other spacecraft. This central hub will be the foundation of Gateway's operations, and once it's in orbit around the Moon, it will provide a unique vantage point for astronauts as they prepare for lunar landings. While the central core is a critical piece of the puzzle, Gateway is designed to grow over time. Future modules, which are already in development, will be added to the station to increase its capabilities. These modules will provide additional living and working space, laboratories for scientific experiments, and even a docking port for future lunar landers. One key aspect of Gateway is its flexibility. NASA and its international partners, including the European Space Agency, ESA, and Japan's JAXA, will continue to contribute to its development, adding modules that can support a variety of missions. Some of these future additions may include modules for cargo storage, medical facilities, or specialized equipment for lunar exploration. As more modules are added, Gateway will become an even more essential hub for lunar exploration and long-term habitation in space. Gateway's development is an integral part of NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return astronauts to the Moon by 2024 and establish a sustainable presence on the lunar surface by the end of the decade. Artemis is more than just a series of lunar missions. It's a long-term plan to use the Moon as a testing ground for deeper space exploration, and Gateway is central to that vision. With its strategic position in lunar orbit, Gateway will be the perfect platform for astronauts to prepare for missions to the Moon's surface, including the lunar South Pole, a region believed to have significant water ice deposits. Water is a critical resource for deep space exploration because it can be used for drinking, oxygen, and even rocket fuel. By conducting missions from Gateway, astronauts can explore the Moon in greater depth, setting the stage for future missions to Mars and beyond. The Artemis program and Gateway are also about creating sustainable human presence beyond Earth. NASA aims to build a base on the Moon that can support long-term habitation and research, laying the groundwork for future missions to Mars. Gateway will serve as a critical part of that infrastructure, facilitating lunar landings and providing a platform for refueling, resupply, and scientific research. It's a stepping stone for humanity's journey to become a multiplanetary species. One of the most exciting aspects of Gateway is the international collaboration involved. NASA is working with space agencies from around the world, including ESA, JAXA, and the Canadian Space Agency, CSA, to develop and operate the station. Each partner will contribute valuable expertise and technology, ensuring that Gateway is built to withstand the challenges of deep space. The collaboration extends to the Artemis missions as well, with astronauts from various nations expected to participate in the moon landing missions. This international approach not only strengthens the mission, but also symbolizes a shift in how we approach space exploration. Rather than being driven solely by national interests, lunar exploration is becoming a global effort, with countries working together to achieve common goals. Gateway, as a collaborative effort, will be a testament to what we can accomplish when we work together in space. As Gateway becomes operational and its modules continue to expand, it will serve as a platform for a new era of space exploration. The station will be crucial for testing the technologies and techniques needed for long-duration space missions, including missions to Mars. It will also provide astronauts with a safe haven for rest, resupply, and mission preparation as they explore the Moon and, eventually, other planets. In the longer term, Gateway will play a significant role in helping NASA and its partners achieve their goal of building a sustainable human presence on the Moon. From lunar exploration to Mars missions, the experiences gained from operating Gateway will provide critical insights into how we can live and work in space for extended periods. By pushing the boundaries of human exploration, Gateway will help us answer some of humanity's biggest questions and pave the way for the next generation of space explorers. In conclusion, NASA's Gateway is more than just an intermodal station orbiting the Moon. It represents the future of lunar exploration and deep space travel, serving as a vital hub for astronauts, scientists, and international space agencies. As Gateway continues to grow and evolve as part of the Artemis program, it will help us take the next giant leap in our journey to the stars. The next one is a private-led mission. Vast Space Haven 1. The Vast Space Haven 1 is a revolutionary concept that promises to redefine the future of human habitation in space. Developed by VAST, a private space exploration company, the Space Haven 1 represents a significant leap forward in the way we think about long-term living and working beyond Earth. Unlike traditional space stations, which have been built with rigid metal structures, the Vast Space Haven 1 introduces an inflatable modular design that offers both cost efficiency and greater flexibility in space. Space stations like the ISS have been essential for scientific research and international collaboration in low Earth orbit, but they come with a high price tag and a relatively fixed design. The Vast Space Haven 1 aims to change that by leveraging cutting-edge inflatable habitat technology that allows the structure to be compact during launch and expanded once it reaches orbit. This design could make the station both more affordable to build and maintain, while also providing astronauts with more living space compared to traditional space stations. The inflatable design of Space Haven 1 offers multiple advantages. Once in space, the habitat expands, creating a much larger, open living area for its occupants. This makes the station far more spacious than traditional spacecraft and allows for the installation of various facilities that could support long-term missions. These could include living quarters, scientific laboratories, and recreational spaces that are crucial for maintaining the health and morale of astronauts during extended missions. The modular nature of the Space Haven 1 also means that its design can evolve over time. Additional modules can be added as needed, allowing for customized expansion based on mission requirements or growing demand for space tourism and research. This flexibility sets the Space Haven 1 apart from more rigid space stations, as it can adapt to a variety of uses, from scientific research to space tourism and even future manufacturing endeavors in space. The vast Space Haven 1 is more than just a scientific project. It's a bold step towards the commercialization of space. Space tourism, private space stations, and off-world industries are increasingly becoming a reality, and the Space Haven 1 is designed with these markets in mind. The inflatable habitat could provide a unique opportunity for companies to host private astronauts, researchers, or tourists for extended stays in space, offering a unique and unprecedented experience. VAST's plan for the Space Haven 1 also includes the possibility of serving as a base for future missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Its modular design could make it an ideal starting point for creating larger structures or hubs that could support deep space missions, providing a place for crews to live and work while they explore the solar system. The vast Space Haven 1 is scheduled for launch in the mid-2020s, with plans for it to be one of the first fully private space stations in orbit. This marks a new era for space exploration, one in which the private sector plays an increasingly significant role in developing the infrastructure needed for sustained human presence beyond Earth. The Space Haven 1 could serve as a testing ground for new technologies, as well as a proving point for the feasibility of long-term human habitation in space. With its ability to expand and evolve, the Space Haven 1 could become an essential platform for scientific research, business ventures, and even leisure activities in space. From advancing our understanding of living in microgravity for extended periods to creating new opportunities for industries in space, this new space station will likely be a central hub for future space endeavors. While the vast Space Haven 1 is still in development, it represents a bold vision for the future of space exploration. It shows that space, once reserved for government agencies like NASA and space giants like Russia and the US, is now open to private industry and could soon become an arena for commercial growth and international cooperation. What's your unforgettable ISS story or memory? Leave your comments below and subscribe for more.